A luxury hotel is designed to be a place where you are seen, served, and remembered. But in the early summer of 1995, at the Radisson SAS Plaza Hotel in Oslo, Norway, the tallest building in the city, a woman checked in with the sole intention of being forgotten. She was young, elegant, and dressed entirely in black. To the staff at the front desk, she was just another guest on the 28th floor. But when security finally breached the door to room 2805, they didn't just find a body, they found a void. Jennifer Fairgate was a name written on a ledger, but it was a name that belonged to no one. She had been dead for less than 30 minutes when the door was opened. She lay on the bed, a powerful 9mm Browning pistol in her hand, a single bullet hole in her forehead. At first glance, it was a tragic, open and shut case of a lonely woman ending her life in a cold hotel room. But as the police began to process the scene, the simple suicide began to disintegrate. There were no fingerprints on the gun. There was no identification in her wallet, no passport, no driver's license, no keys. Even the labels on her clothing had been surgically removed. Tonight, we aren't just looking at a cold case, we are looking at a masterclass in erasure. Who was Jennifer Fairgate? Why did she spend her final days cutting the identity out of her own life? And why, in 2026, is the world more obsessed with room 2805 than ever before? To understand the mystery, we have to go back to Wednesday, May 31st, 1995. The Oslo Plaza was a symbol of modern Norway: glass, steel, and high-end security. Jennifer arrived at the desk without a reservation. She spoke in English and German, her accent impossible to place, her manner calm and professional. She requested a room for 2 people. She signed the name Jennifer Fairgate and listed an address in Verlaine, Belgium. Here is the first major crack in the story. The hotel staff never asked for her ID. In a lapse of security that haunts the investigation to this day, she was handed the key to room 2805 without ever proving who she was. When investigators later contacted the Belgian authorities, they found that Verlaine was a real place, but the street address she gave was a complete fabrication. Not only that, but no one named Jennifer Fairgate existed in the Belgian National Registry. From the very first second she stepped into that lobby, she was a ghost. But she wasn't alone, at least not according to the paperwork. She had checked in for 2 people. On the registration card, she wrote the name Lois Fairgate. Throughout her 3-day stay, staff members caught glimpses of her, but no one could ever definitively say they saw Lois. Was he a partner in crime, a handler, or a figment of a plan to make her appear more normal to the staff? Between Wednesday and Saturday, Jennifer's behavior became increasingly erratic, or perhaps incredibly calculated. She remained in her room for the vast majority of her stay, keeping the Do Not Disturb sign firmly on the handle. However, there is a gaping hole in the timeline. Records from the hotel's electronic key system show that Jennifer was out of her room for nearly 24 hours between Thursday and Friday. Think about that. In a city where she knew no one, with no luggage and no car, she disappeared for an entire day. Where did she go? Who did she meet? When she returned, she didn't bring back shopping bags or souvenirs. She returned to the room and ordered a bratwurst and potato room service meal. When the police later autopsied her body, they found undigested bits of that sausage in her stomach. Based on the rate of digestion, she should have died on Friday, but the gunshot wasn't heard until Saturday night. This implies that Jennifer sat in that room alone for an additional 24 hours after eating her last meal, doing nothing but waiting. Waiting for what? Or waiting for whom? The climax of this mystery occurred on Saturday evening, June 3rd. The Oslo Plaza automated system had flagged room 2805 because the guest had ignored multiple requests to settle the bill. At 7:80 p.m., a security guard named Espen Tondal approached the door. He knocked firmly. Almost instantly, a deafening crack echoed through the heavy wooden door. It was the sound of a high-caliber firearm. Tondal did what any untrained security guard would do. He hit the floor and then he ran. He didn't have a radio, he didn't have a weapon. He ran back to the lobby to get help, leaving the hallway completely empty for 15 minutes. This is the most controversial window of time in the entire case. For 15 minutes, the door to room 2805 was unwatched. If there was an assassin in that room, they had a quarter of an hour to walk out of the room, take the service elevator, and vanish into the streets of Oslo. When the head of security finally arrived and opened the door, the room was dark. The smell of cordite filled the air. Jennifer was on the bed. The door was locked from the inside. It looked like the perfect locked room mystery, but the more the police looked, the less it looked like a suicide. Let's talk about the gun. The Browning 9mm is a heavy, powerful weapon. It has a significant recoil. When a person shoots themselves in the head with a 9mm, the physics are usually messy. There is backspatter, blood, and tissue that coats the hand holding the weapon. On Jennifer Fairgate, there was nothing. Her hands were clean. Furthermore, the position of the gun was bizarre. It was resting in her hand, but her thumb was on the trigger. While possible, it is a highly unnatural way to hold a firearm for suicide. Then there is the issue of the serial numbers. In the world of espionage and organized crime, a clean gun is a gold mine. Someone had used acid to eat away at the serial numbers on this Browning, making it impossible to trace its origin. This isn't something a depressed tourist does. This is something a professional does. And finally, the most chilling detail of all, the labels. Investigators went through her suitcase. They found expensive, high-quality garments, but in every single piece of clothing, her coats, her sweaters, her underwear, the tags had been surgically removed. If you've ever tried to cut a tag out of a shirt, you know it's a tedious task. Doing it for an entire wardrobe takes hours. It's a ritual of anonymity. She wasn't just hiding her name, she was hiding the country where her clothes were bought. She was stripping away every clue that could lead back to a manufacturer, a store, or a city. The mystery of Jennifer Fairgate isn't just about what was missing, but what was left behind. In her bag, police found 25 rounds of live ammunition. Why would someone intending to commit suicide bring enough bullets for a small gunfight? There was also no sign of a struggle. No signs of a struggle usually points to suicide, but in the world of intelligence, it points to a professional hit. If Jennifer was an operative who had failed a mission or a defector who had been found, her liquidation would have been handled exactly like this: quiet, contained, made to look like a self-inflicted end. In the mid-90s, the Cold War had only recently ended. Europe was a playground for the stay-behind networks, spies who had been left in place after the fall of the Iron Curtain. Oslo, a neutral ground for many international negotiations, was crawling with intelligence officers. Is it possible that room 2805 wasn't a suicide suite, but a safe house? Was Jennifer waiting for a contact who never came, or a contact who came with a silencer? For decades, this case was a wall of silence. Jennifer was buried in 1996 in a grave with no name. But in the last few years, the wall has started to crumble. In 2026, we have tools the Oslo police in 1995 couldn't dream of. We have forensic genealogy and isotope analysis. Researchers recently received permission to exhume her body and test her DNA. The results have shifted the entire narrative. Now we know, based on the oxygen isotopes in her teeth, that she spent her childhood in East Germany. She wasn't Belgian. She was a product of the DDR, a state that was famous for its secret police, the Stasi, and its deep-cover sleeper agents. This discovery changes everything. It explains the German accent. It explains the precision of the label cutting. It explains why she knew how to handle a Browning 9mm. She was a child of the Cold War, likely trained in the dark arts of disappearing. But even with a location, we still don't have a name. No family has come forward. No old friends have recognized the sketches. It's as if she was raised to be a shadow, and when the shadow was no longer needed, it was erased. As we look back at the evidence, three theories remain. First, the espionage theory. She was a courier or an assassin who was compromised. She was killed by her own agency to prevent her from talking, or she killed herself to protect the network. Second, the high-end escort theory. Some believe she was a honeypot used to blackmail a powerful man staying at the hotel. When the deal went south, she was eliminated by a security team. And, perhaps the most tragic, the paranoia theory. She was a woman suffering from a profound break with reality, someone who believed she was being hunted and went to extreme lengths to hide her identity before taking her own life. But the paranoia theory doesn't explain the acid-etched gun, it doesn't explain the 24-hour disappearance, and it certainly doesn't explain how a nobody managed to check into a 5-star hotel without a single person suspecting she didn't belong. In a way, Jennifer Fairgate won. She wanted to be a mystery. She wanted to leave this world without leaving a footprint. For over 30 years, she has occupied a room in the collective imagination of the world, a guest who never checked out. We look at her face in the police sketches, and we see a mirror. We see our own fears of being forgotten, and our own fascination with the secret lives lived in the shadows of luxury. As the sun sets over the Oslo Plaza Hotel today, room 2805 is still there. It has been renovated. New carpet, new furniture, new guests. People sleep in that room every night, unaware that they are lying in the exact spot where a ghost once sat, cutting the labels out of her clothes, waiting for a knock at the door. Who was she? Maybe the answer isn't in a database or a DNA lab. Maybe the answer is that Jennifer Fairgate is whoever we need her to be, the ultimate mystery in an age where everything is known. What do you think happened in those 15 minutes when the hallway was empty? Was she alone, or was someone watching her from the shadows of the room? Let us know your theories in the comments. This is a case that only ends when someone finally says her real name. Thank you for watching this deep dive. If you want more cold cases with a mystery twist, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. Until next time, keep looking closer.